There are individuals who enter your life not to contribute but to consume. They move with a deceptive grace, offering smiles and the veneer of kindness. Yet beneath this carefully constructed facade lies a singular destructive intent to siphon away your spiritual essence. Understand this truth deeply. You are not a common soul. You have been selected, marked by the divine, and dispatched to this earthly realm equipped with a profound reservoir of power and specific purpose. This is not an ego boost. It is an undeniable reality woven into your being. But you must absorb this crucial warning. You cannot afford to extend your light to everyone who asks. The spiritual economy is not infinite. Not every outstretched hand is meant to be grasped and pulled to safety. Not every plea for illumination deserves the warmth of your sacred flame. There are specific figures, spiritual liabilities, that your intuition and perhaps even the divine have cautioned you against. These are the individuals you must learn to decline, to actively avoid engaging with, because every instance you invest your precious energy, time, or emotional clarity into them, you are willingly sacrificing a piece of the divine resource you were sent here with. They are not merely an annoyance that slows your progress. They are an active spiritual roadblock designed to derail your destiny entirely. And the purpose of this message, right here, right now, is to unveil precisely who these soul siphons are. You must see them clearly, without the haze of human sentimentality or misplaced pity. Because if you fail to recognize their true nature, if you continue to believe their act, they will relentlessly exhaust your vital energy, erode your mental clarity, and obscure your heavenly calling until all that remains is a hollowed-out confusion and a heavy, draining silence. That desolate state, that emptiness, is emphatically not your portion, not your inheritance, and not your final resting place. This revelation is not broadcast to the masses. It is specifically targeted for the few, the set apart, the chosen hearts. If this message resonates deep within your spirit, if you feel a stirring and an undeniable affirmation, then commit to staying with me until the very final word. The understanding you are on the verge of receiving holds the potential to fundamentally reorient the trajectory of your entire life's assignment. A moment of clarity can be a lifetime of freedom. If this truth hits home, please acknowledge it by engaging with this message. You belong in this sphere of spiritual warriors, and your awareness is about to expand significantly. Let's begin by addressing the hidden narrative of your life. Be honest with yourself. You have traversed experiences and faced trials that, were you to recount them, most people would outright disbelieve. You have tried to articulate this unique pain before, only to be met with vacant, confused stares, or even worse, the casual dismissal of your suffering as if it were a purely psychological construct, an imagined melodrama. But you know the difference. You know the weight of reality because you felt it acutely, lodging deep within your soul, vibrating in your very bones, especially during those silent, desperate nights when your cries ascended to heaven with seemingly no immediate reply. The undeniable reality is that since your earliest awareness, life has not just tested your mettle, it has actively sought to shatter your foundation. While your peers seemed sheltered and protected, you were continually exposed to the elements. While they were engrossed in carefree laughter and ease, you were engaged in a constant grinding endurance. While they enjoyed periods of restful reprieve, you were locked in a perpetual struggle against shadows that remained invisible to everyone else. Yet despite this constant siege, you are still here. You are still breathing, still standing tall, and for a purpose-filled reason. You emerge from each trial stronger, more resilient, and more spiritually grounded than ever before. But a crucial question demands an honest answer. Why you? Why were the toughest, earliest battles directed specifically at you? Why did the adversary launch attacks against your potential, long before you even possessed the vocabulary or the awareness to fight back? Why were you involuntarily thrown into storms and chaotic environments that were not of your own making? The answer is not that you were being singled out for punishment. On the contrary, God was precisely positioning you. While others were allowed the comfort of the commonplace, you were in an intensive, silent shaping process. This process was not designed to make you fit in. but to prepare you to lead with authority precisely when the ordinary souls of the world begin to falter and collapse. Leaders called to service in these culminating times cannot possess a soft, easily swayed spirit. They must not be characterized by spiritual naivete or a lack of understanding of the true nature of conflict. They are required to be fire-tested, proven in spiritual combat, and spiritually unshakable down to their core beliefs. You are right now being forged in the crucible of silence. You are being trained in secret isolation, because when the structures of the world inevitably begin to crumble and fall into disarray, you will be one of the few standing resolutely in the ensuing chaos. Your mandate will be to speak light into the densest darkness, to declare unwavering faith in the face of paralyzing fear, and to lead the broken-spirited when they have utterly lost. And here lies a critical mystery. No one is typically applauding your efforts. No one ever notices the silent, grueling battles you are constantly fighting beneath the surface. But this is precisely by divine design. The Creator is currently raising a generation of quiet, powerful warriors, hidden from public view for a necessary period. But this obscurity is not permanent. You are currently immersed in your sacred preparation season. And in this profound time of solitude, the divine is closely observing the very nature of your leadership, how you conduct yourself when no one is watching, how authentically you serve when no one offers a thank you, and how faithfully you adhere to instruction, even when the logic makes no human sense. Why? Because when the moment of the great revealing arrives, when the spiritual veil is intentionally lifted, you will not be leading in secret any longer. God is on the verge of unveiling his hidden champions. And when your time of revelation arrives, the world will be utterly bewildered as to your sudden emergence because they were never privy to the immense spiritual weight you were quietly bearing and overcoming. But make no mistake, heaven witnessed every single moment, and your ultimate reward will be perfectly calibrated to match the weight of responsibility and the enduring silent effort you have sustained. Do you still truly believe that the immense responsibility you feel is merely a random quirk of personality? Or perhaps, just perhaps, it is the most conclusive evidence that you were born for an assignment that is sacred and non-negotiable. But remain focused, because the next sign is poised to clarify precisely why you have been perpetually misjudged and misinterpreted, often by the very individuals who should know and love you best. We need to speak openly about a quiet, persistent pain, a truth you rarely permit yourself to admit aloud, a burden you have learned to carry with solitary dignity. I am talking about the stinging, persistent feeling of being deeply misunderstood. And this alienation is not at the hands of total strangers, but often by the very people you had the deepest expectation of support and understanding from, your closest circle. You articulate from a place of deep soul conviction, yet they process your words only through limited human ears. You operate with an obvious, compelling purpose, yet they apply a label of strangeness or intensity to your actions. You assent to the subtle guidance that God whispers to you, yet they immediately accuse you of being overly dramatic or excessively zealous. You have tirelessly attempted to explain your motivations. You have even tried to deliberately diminish the depth of your soul just to secure their approval. But regardless of your efforts, they simply do not see the real you, not fully, and not truthfully. Close friends inexplicably withdraw without warning. Family members continuously question the integrity of your direction. Even those who were once your most vocal cheerleaders suddenly fall silent the moment your light begins to noticeably increase in intensity. But pause for a moment. What if this overwhelming feeling is not a sign of rejection? What if it is, in fact, undeniable confirmation? You see, those who are genuinely chosen for a higher work are almost never recognized or applauded in the beginning stages of their journey. Your spirit emits a powerful, high-vibration frequency that the vast majority of people are simply not spiritually attuned to receive. They cannot intellectually grasp why you refuse to chase the materialistic things that define their existence. They do not comprehend why your spirit demands periods of profound solitude, why you are so fiercely protective of your inner energy, or why your dreams diverge so radically from the common accepted path. And because they lack the ability to define or neatly categorize you, Their natural response is to withdraw and reject your authenticity. But hear this with complete clarity. Jesus himself was misunderstood. David was initially ignored and marginalized. Joseph was maliciously betrayed by his own flesh and blood. Yet every single one of them was being meticulously set apart for a specific, monumental moment that no one else in their time could foresee. The very same profound principle applies to you. The isolation you felt was not a curse or a divine punishment. It was, in fact, spiritual protection. God was actively safeguarding your destiny from the harmful influence of opinions and expectations that would have inevitably diluted the pure, potent nature of your calling. If they had completely accepted you early on, you might have been tempted to remain small, safely within the bounds of comfort. But true leaders cannot afford the luxury of comfort. They require absolute clarity. And sometimes that unvarnished clarity is delivered in the unlikely packaging of temporary isolation. So yes, they walked away. Yes, they openly doubted your vision. And yes, they consistently misinterpreted your spirit. But this occurred because they utterly lacked the spiritual sight to recognize and confirm the powerful identity that heaven had already sealed and ordained you to become. And during this essential process, the individuals whose spiritual frequency no longer aligns with your next level are organically beginning to fall away. Do not chase them down. Do not waste your energy attempting to offer further explanations. Do not, under any circumstances, diminish your inherent light or shrink your being just to fit into the smaller, more comfortable version of you they are familiar with, because the time is fast approaching when God fully reveals the incredible, powerful structure he has been silently constructing within you. The very people who abandoned you will be compelled to watch your ascent in absolute awe. But here is the most subtle truth that many never fully realize. This current phase of being fundamentally misunderstood is not the conclusion of your story. It is the powerful threshold, because what is coming next is not merely about separation or isolation. It is the moment of your divine activation. Prepare yourself, because the next and final sign will unveil a truth so essential and so profoundly hidden that even you may have inadvertently overlooked its significance until now. There are profound, undeniable moments when an internal knowing overtakes you, a precognition that arrives before the physical event even manifests. It begins as a faint, almost inaudible whisper in your spirit, an inexplicable, heavy sensation in your chest, a vivid symbolic image in your dreams, or a quiet, internal warning that registers only with you, but which you find utterly impossible to dismiss. You have sensed imminent danger long before it physically appeared. You have experienced detailed dreams of specific locations only to physically walk into those exact places days later. You have woken up with an inexplicable heaviness in your spirit, unaware of the cause, only to realize later that a significant spiritual shift or event occurred right at that time, and perhaps for too long. You rationalize these moments as mere products of your overactive imagination. You quietly questioned your own sanity. You kept these profound, unsettling moments entirely to yourself because you feared being labeled as crazy, excessively emotional, or just too spiritual. But now, the time for silence is over. It is time to speak the truth openly and without apology. You are not imagining these things. You are spiritually and prophetically discerning them. What you possess and carry is not a common characteristic. It is not some form of vague superstition or a series of convenient coincidences. It is an undeniable prophetic anointing. The divine has meticulously placed within your spirit a calibrated spiritual antenna, one that is exquisitely capable of picking up signals and frequencies that the average, unawakened soul cannot possibly detect. While others navigate life blindly, you are granted a measure of spiritual sight. While they are forced to guess, you are empowered to feel the truth. While they passively follow the direction of the crowd, you are actively listening for the subtle whisper behind the spiritual veil. This extraordinary gift is not intended to instill fear. It is intended to be responsibly stewarded and leveraged. The individuals the Creator selects to lead in these consequential final days cannot afford the luxury of being surprised or caught unaware. They are required to see clearly ahead, prepare diligently ahead, and speak prophetically ahead of the moment. And that, in essence, is why he consistently chooses to reveal things to you. He sends these warnings through your dreams, not to terrify you into inaction, but to meticulously prepare you for the future. He gives you these strong, unshakable internal feelings about certain people, not to make you judgmental, but as a crucial protective measure for your calling. You have, on countless occasions, wisely walked away from situations or opportunities that, on the surface, appeared wonderful or attractive, simply because a primal scream of no echoed deep within your spirit, and invariably, the truth eventually surfaced, confirming that your discernment was completely accurate once again. This is not ego-driven pride. This is not unfounded paranoia. This is the activated evidence of prophetic sensitivity. The world is in desperate need of more voices like yours. Not just loud, attention-grabbing voices, but clear, resonant ones. Not just subjective opinions, but authentic, divine insight. This level of spiritual giftedness is often costly because it brings with it an element of isolation. People naturally mock what they are unable to understand or perceive. They will undoubtedly roll their eyes at your internal warnings until the storm is literally breaking over their heads. But by then, because of your foresight, you will already be safely building the ark. Your mission here is not to impress or be popular. Your mission is to prepare, to guide, to lead, and to provide spiritual cover for those whose eyes have yet to be opened to the reality of the unseen world. And yes, it is often a solitary, lonely path. Yes, the spiritual weight can be heavy and burdensome. But always remember this core truth. The divine does not reveal profound mysteries to the massive crowd. He carefully whispers them to his chosen, attentive few. And you, my friend, have been hearing that decisive whisper for years now. The time has arrived to listen closer and more intently than ever before. Because the final connecting revelation, the one you are about to receive, will serve as the ultimate confirmation, not only of who you fundamentally are, but of the spiritual authority you were born to command. The revelation is now upon us. You have exhaustively tried to suppress it. You have actively attempted to quiet the urgency. You have endeavored to blend into the background, seeking to live the life that everyone else casually refers to as normal, the cycle of work, the endless bills, the predictable weekend plans, the forced smile, survive and repeat. But deep inside your spirit, there is an innate, powerful restlessness that utterly refuses to be quieted, no matter how much effort you put into burying it beneath distractions or overwhelming busyness. The relentless, divine pull consistently returns, louder, more powerful, and with a greater sense of urgency. You have, at certain painful points, walked away from your assignment or purpose, haven't you? Perhaps not out of genuine fear of the task, but out of a paralyzing sense of exhaustion, a deep, consuming heartbreak, or the crushing weight of utter confusion. You told yourself a simple lie: I just want peace. I just want to be left alone. I am simply not ready for this. And for a short while, that self-deception seemed to work. You retreated into the shadows. You followed the expected script. You tried with all your might to be ordinary. But ordinary was never the designation written on your eternal blueprint. You were fundamentally not designed for the periphery. You were marked long before your birth, to lead, to construct, and to awaken a dormant world. And this is precisely why the powerful, undeniable calling simply refuses to leave you in peace. It manifests in your most private, quietest moments, a thought that refuses to dissipate, a dream that recurs with persistent symbolism, a sudden, inexplicable surge of fire in your core when you hear a single word that strikes too close to the truth. You have tried to unhear the sound of destiny. You simply cannot. You have tried desperately to forget the assignment. But your destiny does not forget you, because this powerful calling is not predicated on your personal comfort or convenience. It is fundamentally about the completion of a sacred assignment. And whether you feel perfectly ready or are still filled with doubt, the decisive time is not coming. It is already here, the moment when heaven will declare, now. God is not searching for the most polished, professionally certified individuals. He is not pursuing those who possess perfect spiritual resumes or flawless dogmatic theology. He is actively seeking the willing, the available, the ones who have finally ceased their running. You do not need to have every single detail completely figured out. Your only requirement is to surrender your will and say yes. Because hear this final truth clearly. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen ones. And the irrefutable evidence that you are still here, still internalizing this message, still taking a breath with that undeniable burning fire in your soul, that is your absolute confirmation. You have been officially drafted by the kingdom. You have been designated and set apart for the final critical hour. You are not experiencing delusion. You are not lost. You are certainly not late. You are being profoundly prepared, and the next, inevitable chapter of your life will demand every single lesson, every painful scar, and every ounce of hard-won faith you have painstakingly accumulated up to this very moment. Stay with me for the final words, because in this conclusion, all the threads will connect, and these closing words are designed to awaken a mighty power within you that has patiently been waiting for its command to rise. If these signs spoke directly to your soul, if something deep inside your being undeniably stirred, and you felt your spirit whisper, "This is profoundly me," then receive this final declaration loudly and with absolute certainty. You are chosen. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by an intricate, intentional, divine design. Before the first wave of chaos, before the deepest heartbreak, before the suffocating confusion, you were already marked by the divine, marked to be the vessel that carries light into a world that is desperately seeking direction, marked to walk with authority into places others are too afraid to tread, marked to speak undeniable truth when the silence of compromise becomes spiritually deadly. These are not ordinary days, and by no measure are you an ordinary soul. The concluding times are now upon us, and the world is not waiting idly for spiritual perfection. It is desperately crying out for authentic, uncompromised power. It is yearning for voices like yours, bold, intrinsically pure, completely unshaken and filled to the brim with divine fire. God has not called you to sit quietly on the periphery. He is calling you to rise up right now, to fully recall the identity you were given, to stand with the unwavering courage of a lion in a landscape filled only with timid echoes. The internal crown you feel pressing upon your spirit, it is real and authoritative. The weight of responsibility you have carried in secret, it is sacred and consecrated. The agonizing pain that attempted to obliterate you, it was rigorous training, not a cruel punishment. You have been deliberately kept hidden for a specific, necessary reason, but that season of obscurity is now rapidly drawing to a close, because when the Creator gives the definitive command of now, absolutely nothing in creation can stop the fulfillment of what has been permanently ordained. So, look into the mirror and deliberately stop focusing on your human flaws and imperfections. Start seeing your fire. Start seeing the unstoppable warrior that the divine has always clearly seen within you. This is no longer a time for passive waiting. This is no longer about hoping that one day the puzzle pieces will finally click together. This is your definitive moment. This is your immediate activation. This is the resounding sound of heaven issuing its command. Rise. Rise from the paralysis of fear. Rise from the confusion of misdirection. Rise from the spiritual ashes of everything and everyone that attempted to silence your powerful voice. You were emphatically not born to merely blend into the wallpaper of life. You were born to burn brightly, to lead with authority, to shift spiritual atmospheres, and to fundamentally shake entrenched kingdoms. Your destiny does not begin at some vague point in the future. It begins definitively now. If you feel this truth deep within your soul, commit to it. Let the world witness your spiritual conviction. Let the forces of darkness hear the sound of your determined spirit. Let heaven itself witness your yes.